It was a quiet night on Earth when a human named Aaron noticed a strange light in the sky. At first he thought it was a shooting star, but it was moving too slowly and with a strange rhythm. Curiosity filled him, and without thinking much, he followed it to a nearby clearing. The light pulsed softly, almost like it was alive. As he approached, a shimmering portal opened, and before he could react, he was pulled inside. The world he entered was nothing like Earth. The sky glowed with colors he had never seen, and floating islands drifted gently in the distance. Strange plants moved as if they had feelings, and creatures with shapes he could barely describe walked gracefully around him. Everything felt alive, intelligent, and powerful. Aaron soon learned he was on a planet ruled by the alien queen, a being of immense wisdom and strength. She was known far and wide for her intelligence, her courage, and the strict rules she enforced to maintain peace and order. The queen was not cruel, but she was fair and expected the highest standards from anyone who entered her realm. Her latest announcement had shaken the entire planet. She had declared a marriage challenge. This challenge was not like ordinary contests. It was a test of mind, body, and heart. Anyone who could prove their worth in the eyes of the queen would be honored with a symbolic union, a gesture of respect, alliance, and deep admiration. It was a title that carried honor and influence, and only the bravest or cleverest beings dared to compete. Aaron, being from Earth, did not know any of this at first. To him, it was a world of wonders and dangers, and yet something inside him made him want to explore, to understand, and to find a way to survive. He quickly realized that the aliens around him were staring with curiosity, amusement, and suspicion. They were taller than humans, with bodies that shimmered with strange patterns, eyes that could see in ways Aaron could not, and voices that resonated with musical tones. They laughed quietly when they saw him, whispering among themselves, convinced that a human could never compete with their skill, strength, or intelligence. Despite their judgment, Aaron remained calm. He did not know how to fight with the aliens' advanced technology or perform the tasks they might expect, but he had something they did not: earthly intuition, creativity, and determination. He watched the other contestants closely. Each one performed with elegance, precision, and confidence, but many relied only on what they had been taught or trained to do. Aaron noticed something interesting. The queen's tests were not only about strength or cleverness, they also required empathy, courage, and clever thinking beyond pure skill. The first days were difficult. Aaron struggled to understand the rules of the planet, its customs, and the challenge itself. He often made mistakes, stumbled in conversations, or misjudged the environment. But with each mistake, he learned something new. He observed the plants, the creatures, and the way the aliens interacted with each other. Slowly, he realized that the key was not to compete like everyone else, but to see things in a way no one had before. During the initial gatherings, the alien contestants would perform displays of power. They would leap across floating platforms, lift enormous objects, or solve complex puzzles in seconds. The humans among the spectators gasped, and Aaron felt a moment of doubt. Could he ever keep up with these beings? But then he remembered something his grandmother once told him. True strength is not only in muscles or speed, but in heart and mind. That thought gave him courage. He decided that instead of trying to copy the aliens, he would use his own way, even if it seemed strange or foolish at first. One of the first tests was a puzzle, an enormous maze that seemed impossible to navigate. Alien contestants used technology, levitation, and tools to reach the center almost instantly. Aaron, however, had nothing but his eyes, his hands, and his mind. He began to observe the patterns, the way the maze changed, and the subtle signs the environment gave. Slowly, step by step, he found paths the others had overlooked. He fell many times, hit walls, and even got lost several times, but each mistake brought a new understanding. In the end, he emerged from the maze in a way that was completely unexpected. Some aliens were impressed, others confused, but everyone began to notice that he was different. The alien queen, observing from her throne, paid close attention to this human. She had seen many contestants before, many who were clever, strong, or cunning. But there was something in Aaron that caught her interest. It was not his skill, nor his strength, but his curiosity, his kindness, and the way he faced challenges, without fear or arrogance. She tilted her head, watching as he helped a smaller alien who had fallen behind in the maze, guiding them without expecting anything in return. For the first time, whispers spread through the crowd. Perhaps this human could surprise them all. As days passed, Aaron began to make friends with some aliens, despite initial distrust. They were intrigued by his ability to see solutions they could not, his creative approach to problems, and his unwavering determination. These friendships were important, for the challenge was not only about completing tasks, but also understanding the world and its beings. Aaron's approach was simple: observe, think, empathize, and act. It was a stark contrast to the showy, often competitive displays of the other contestants. By the end of the first part of the challenge, Aaron had not won anything yet. He had only survived, learned, and begun to understand this alien world. But, in the eyes of some, including the Queen, survival itself was an achievement. The humans from Earth were seen as fragile and weak, but Aaron had shown resilience, intelligence, and heart. Little did he know, this was just the beginning. The real trials, the ones that would test his courage, intelligence, and compassion to the fullest, were yet to come. And the alien queen, who had ruled with authority and wisdom for centuries, was already beginning to wonder, could this human truly succeed where many aliens would fail? The next morning, Aaron woke up to the soft glow of the alien sun, feeling both excited and nervous. Today was the day the real trials would begin, the ones that would decide who could continue in the Queen's challenge. As he looked around, he saw alien contestants preparing with confidence. They wore shimmering armor or cloaks that seemed to glow with energy, and their movements were precise and practiced. Many of them whispered to each other, smiling in amusement at the human from Earth who stood among them, clearly untrained and inexperienced. The first trial of the day was a test of intelligence. Large holographic shapes floated above the ground, forming puzzles that seemed impossible to solve. The aliens moved quickly, their minds tuned to handle such complex problems with ease. Aaron stared at the shapes, feeling overwhelmed for a moment, but he took a deep breath and reminded himself to observe carefully. He noticed patterns that others had missed, subtle shifts in light, the direction of shadows, and even the way the shapes seemed to respond to certain movements. Using patience and careful thought, he started to solve the puzzle step by step. Some of the aliens noticed what he was doing and were surprised. Most had relied on quick calculations and advanced tools, and they hadn't considered the simple observations that Aaron was using. Slowly, he completed the puzzle, not as fast as the others, but with precision. The Queen, watching from her elevated throne, nodded slightly. She was intrigued by this human who had no technology, no training, yet had succeeded through patience and observation. A few aliens whispered among themselves, realizing that Aaron's methods were unusual but effective. The next trial was physical. The contestants were required to cross a wide chasm using floating platforms that moved unpredictably. Many aliens leaped from platform to platform effortlessly, using their strength and agility. Aaron hesitated at the edge, his heart pounding. The platforms swayed and tilted as if alive, and one wrong step could send him falling into the misty depths below. He remembered his grandmother's advice about courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to move forward despite it. With that thought, he stepped onto the first platform. He moved slowly, carefully observing each platform's movements before stepping. When one platform tilted too much, he adjusted his balance and found the rhythm. Halfway across, an alien competitor accidentally bumped a platform, sending it spinning. Aaron almost fell, but he grabbed a glowing vine nearby and steadied himself. Some of the aliens gasped, impressed that he had adapted so quickly. Others muttered that it was only luck. But luck had little to do with it. Aaron had learned to observe, think, and act in a way that no one had expected. By the time he reached the other side, the Queen's expression showed a flicker of approval. After the physical trial, the contestants faced the most unusual challenge yet, a moral dilemma. They were led into a room filled with strange alien creatures, some weak, some injured, some in need of care. The task was simple in description: help the creatures in a way that would show intelligence, empathy, and problem-solving skills. But it was more complex than it seemed. Some aliens ignored the weak or used them to gain an advantage in the challenge. Aaron, however, knelt down and examined each creature, gently touching those who were hurt and figuring out how to help them safely. He discovered that some of the creatures had unique needs. One small creature could only move using a glowing moss as support, while another needed water mixed with minerals from the planet's soil. Aaron quickly used his observations and imagination to assist them all. His actions were not rushed or forced. They were thoughtful, kind, and effective. The Queen leaned forward, her eyes widening slightly. This trial was designed to expose greed, selfishness, or laziness, and many aliens had failed. But Aaron had succeeded in a way no one expected. He showed that even a human from a primitive world could have intelligence, empathy, and courage combined. As the day went on, Aaron faced more tasks. Some required teamwork, and here he shined as well. Alien contestants were used to competing aggressively, often refusing to cooperate. Aaron, however, offered help when others struggled, showing humility and respect. In one challenge, 2 competitors were trapped on a crumbling platform, and Aaron risked losing time to guide them to safety. The Queen watched intently, noting that his decisions reflected true leadership and understanding. The human's unusual methods began to attract attention. Some aliens who had laughed at him initially now studied him quietly. They wondered how someone so different could survive and even excel. Aaron did not seek recognition, but his honesty and courage were impossible to ignore. Even when he faced teasing or doubt, he continued with focus and patience, never allowing fear or anger to cloud his decisions. Slowly, a few alien contestants began to admire him. They started offering hints, subtle advice, or even assistance in situations where rules allowed cooperation. By the end of the day, the contestants gathered in front of the Queen. The humans' progress had surprised everyone, and whispers filled the chamber. The Queen herself remained calm, but her curiosity was obvious. She had seen many talented beings before, but Aaron's combination of creativity, courage, and empathy was unique. In her long life, she had learned to recognize not just skill or strength, but the value of character, adaptability, and heart. Aaron, though far from perfect, had displayed all these qualities, quietly earning respect from those who had doubted him most. That evening, as Aaron rested, he reflected on the day's events. He realized that surviving in this alien world was not about fighting harder or being smarter than everyone else. It was about thinking differently, understanding others, and staying true to oneself. He had discovered that courage and kindness could be more powerful than strength or technology. For the first time, he felt a quiet confidence growing within him, a feeling that he was not just surviving, but beginning to truly belong, even in a world so far from Earth. Little did Aaron know, the challenges would only become harder. Each trial was designed not just to test skill, but to push contestants to their limits of heart, mind, and character. And the queen, observing quietly, began to wonder how far this human could go. Could he survive the ultimate trials? Could he even win the challenge that had defeated the best aliens for generations? For now, one thing was certain. Aaron had already changed the way everyone thought about humans, showing that courage, empathy, and intelligence could come from the most unexpected places. The days passed, and Aaron felt himself growing stronger, wiser, and more confident. The challenges were becoming more difficult, testing not just his mind and body, but also his heart. The alien queen had designed the next trial to push contestants to their limits, to see who could truly prove their worth. This trial was different from the others. It was not about puzzles or physical skill alone. It was about courage, compassion, and the ability to make difficult choices under pressure. The contestants were led to a massive arena, unlike anything Aaron had ever seen. The walls were tall and shimmering, reflecting the alien sky, and the floor was a network of glowing tiles that changed shape and position constantly. Suspended above were floating platforms that moved unpredictably, while strange creatures roamed below, each with their own needs and behaviors. The challenge was simple in explanation, but complex in execution. Navigate the arena, help the creatures in need, and reach the center where the queen awaited. Simple, yes, but the true test lay in how each contestant approached it. From the very start, the aliens used their usual methods: strength, speed, and advanced technology. They leaped, flew, or teleported across the arena, trying to dominate the challenge quickly. Many ignored the creatures, focusing only on their own progress, believing that reaching the center first would guarantee victory. Aaron, however, observed carefully. He noticed that the arena responded to actions. If one helped the creatures, pathways became easier and some floating platforms stabilized. If one ignored them, obstacles multiplied, and the journey became more dangerous. At first, this seemed like a disadvantage. While others rushed ahead, Aaron took his time, tending to the creatures with care. One creature, small and fragile, needed help climbing a slippery tile. Another was frightened and hiding, refusing to move. Aaron spoke softly to them, moved gently, and found ways to make their journey safer. Some aliens laughed, thinking he was wasting time. But Aaron paid them no mind, focusing on understanding the arena, the creatures, and the choices before him. Halfway through, a dangerous obstacle appeared. A section of the arena began to collapse, platforms tilting sharply and tiles vanishing beneath the contestants' feet. The alien competitors panicked, some using force or advanced abilities to escape, others falling into the gaps. Aaron froze for a moment, assessing the situation. Then he realized that the solution was not in rushing or fighting. It was in patience and careful observation. He noticed a pattern in the way the platforms moved and the shadows they cast. Timing. His steps carefully, he guided the creatures along with him, moving slowly but safely. This careful approach drew the attention of the queen. From her throne high above, she observed Aaron's calm determination. She had seen many brave and skilled contestants, but few combined intelligence, courage, and empathy in such a natural way. While others were focused on their own success, Aaron had chosen to care for those weaker than himself, even when it might slow him down or put him at risk. It was this quality that the queen valued most, a true understanding of responsibility and honor. As he neared the center, a sudden test arose. One of the creatures, frightened by the shifting platforms, fell into a gap too wide for Aaron to reach. Immediately. The other contestants, already ahead, ignored it, but Aaron could not. He knew that leaving the creature behind would violate the spirit of the trial. Risking his own position, he quickly fashioned a makeshift bridge using a glowing, vine that hung nearby. With careful movements, he rescued the creature and continued toward the center, slightly behind others. When he finally reached the center of the arena, the queen's gaze was fixed on him. The other aliens had arrived first, but the outcome of the trial was not determined by speed. The queen spoke, her voice clear and commanding, yet tinged with curiosity. "You have shown more than skill or strength. You have shown wisdom, courage, and compassion. Tell me, human, why did you risk your own progress to help those who could not help themselves?" Aaron took a deep breath, his heart beating fast. He had expected this moment, though not in exactly this way. "Because," he said simply, "every being has value. Strength and speed are not the only measures of worth. Helping those in need shows true understanding and courage. That is why I chose to act as I did." A silence followed, and then a murmur of surprise ran through the crowd. The alien contestants looked at him with a mixture of disbelief and admiration. Many had never considered that helping others could be more important than winning. The queen's expression changed subtly. Her eyes softened, and a faint smile appeared. She had seen countless challengers, but few had answered with such clarity and truth. The next part of the trial was unexpected. The queen raised her hand, and suddenly, a series of moral and ethical dilemmas appeared in holographic form around the arena. Each contestant was faced with a choice: take the easy path to victory or make a decision that would help others but risk failure. Many aliens hesitated, unsure of what to do. Some took the easy route, thinking that winning quickly would prove their worth. Aaron, however, analyzed each situation carefully, weighing consequences and considering the needs of everyone involved. Time after time, he chose the path of empathy, even when it slowed him down. By the end of the trial, Aaron emerged not first, but undeniably as the most deserving. His combination of courage, intelligence, and compassion had passed the queen's most difficult test yet. The other contestants looked at him in awe, realizing that their usual methods of strength and speed were not enough. For the first time, they understood that winning in the queen's eyes required more than skill. It required heart. The queen leaned forward, her voice echoing across the arena. "Human, you have shown that even the smallest and simplest beings can possess great strength of character. Many have tried, many have failed, but you have succeeded because you understood what others could not. Courage without wisdom is empty. Strength without compassion is hollow. You have shown all these in perfect balance." Aaron felt a mix of relief, pride, and humility. He had faced moments of doubt, fear, and uncertainty, yet he had stayed true to his principles. The trial had tested not only his abilities, but his understanding of what it meant to be worthy. He realized that the queen's challenge was not about defeating others, but about proving oneself through character, heart, and understanding. As the crowd of aliens watched, whispers of admiration spread. Some of the competitors who had mocked him before now approached him with respect. They asked how he had managed to think differently, how he had stayed calm under pressure, and how he had found solutions that none of them had seen. Aaron simply smiled, sharing that patience, observation, and empathy were key. It was a lesson that would resonate far beyond the arena. By the time the trial ended, the queen had made her observations, and it was clear that Aaron had passed the turning point with distinction. He had not only survived the challenges, but had excelled in ways that reshaped the perceptions of all who watched. The alien society, which had initially doubted a human's abilities, began to reconsider what true worthiness meant. And for Aaron, this was only the beginning. He still had to face the ultimate trials, where courage, intelligence, and compassion would be tested like never before. In that moment, standing in the center of the arena, Aaron felt a quiet confidence. He knew that the path ahead would be even more difficult, but he also understood that staying true to himself helping others and using his mind and heart together would guide him through whatever came next. And the alien queen, observing carefully, began to feel a sense of curiosity and respect that would only grow stronger in the trials to come. The final trial had arrived, and the atmosphere on the alien planet was tense. Contestants from across the galaxy gathered in the grand arena, buzzing with anticipation and nerves. This was the moment that would decide everything. The winner of the alien queen's marriage challenge. The arena itself seemed alive, with floating platforms, glowing tiles, and shifting pathways that changed unpredictably. Strange creatures moved carefully across the floor, and luminous plants swayed gently, almost as if they were watching the participants. The challenge was designed not only to test skill or strength, but to push the contestants' hearts, minds, and courage to the absolute limit. From the moment the queen announced the trial, all eyes were on Arin. The human from Earth had already surprised everyone with his intelligence, compassion, and bravery in previous trials. Many aliens still doubted his chances in this ultimate test. They whispered among themselves, shaking their heads in disbelief. How could someone from a primitive world succeed against beings who had trained their entire lives for this? But the queen herself seemed thoughtful, her gaze lingering on Arin with curiosity rather than judgment. She had watched him grow, adapt, and prove himself in ways few could match. The trial began with a series of puzzles and obstacles that required quick thinking, courage, and careful observation. Alien contestants used every skill they had: teleportation, levitation, and advanced problem-solving. Arin, however, stayed calm. He observed the patterns in the obstacles, noting details that others overlooked. He noticed that the platforms reacted to movement, the creatures responded to gestures, and even the environment shifted slightly when approached with care and patience. While others rushed ahead, sometimes falling or making mistakes, Arin's careful approach kept him steady and efficient. Midway through the trial, a dangerous challenge appeared: a series of platforms suspended above a deep, glowing chasm. The creatures in the arena were scared, unable to move across on their own. The other contestants ignored them, focusing only on their own progress. Arin paused, remembering that the queen valued more than just speed or skill. He helped the creatures, carefully, using vines and glowing branches to guide them across safely. Every step required concentration and courage. A single mistake could send him or the creatures falling into the abyss below. As Arin advanced, some of the alien contestants began to notice his approach. A few stopped briefly, observing how he solved problems with patience and care. They realized that while they had relied on strength and technology, Arin had combined intelligence, courage, and empathy. His decisions were not just clever, they were wise. He understood the needs of others and the environment in ways that went beyond what they had learned. Slowly, respect replaced doubt in the eyes of some competitors, though others remained skeptical. The final section of the arena was the most difficult of all. It required a combination of physical agility, sharp thinking, and ethical judgment. A puzzle appeared before them, a bridge of glowing tiles stretched across the chasm, but some tiles were unstable and would collapse if stepped on incorrectly. The creatures, frightened and weak, needed help crossing, and the path ahead constantly shifted. Contestants could choose to rush across, ignoring the creatures, or take the time to guide them safely while navigating the tricky tiles. Arin's decision was clear. He would help the creatures, no matter how risky or slow it seemed. He carefully tested each tile, guiding the creatures with calm words and gentle hands. Some aliens rushed past him, laughing or shaking their heads, convinced that he was wasting time. Yet with every careful step, Arin noticed patterns in the tiles' instability and the movements of the arena. By observing and adapting, he was able to move quickly without rushing, keeping both himself and the creatures safe. When he finally reached the center, the queen's throne loomed above. The other contestants had arrived slightly before him. But the trial was not about who came first. It was about how the challenge was faced. The queen's gaze fell on Arin, her expression unreadable but intense. She spoke, her voice calm yet commanding. Human, you have completed the challenge in a manner unlike any other contestant. You have shown courage, intelligence, compassion, and understanding. Tell me, what gave you the strength to act as you did when others chose only themselves? Arin took a deep breath, feeling both nervous and proud. I realized, he said, that strength is not only in speed or power. True courage is helping others even when it is difficult. True intelligence is seeing solutions that others overlook. And true worth comes from understanding and caring, not just winning. I acted this way because I believed it was right, not for recognition. A silence followed, filled with tension and awe. The alien contestants looked at him in amazement. Some whispered that he had taught them a lesson about what it meant to be truly worthy. The queen nodded slowly, a rare smile crossing her face. She had seen many challengers, but few had combined skill, courage, and heart in such a natural and complete way. She spoke again, her voice echoing across the arena. Human, by your actions, you have proven yourself not only capable of victory, but also of honor. You have earned the respect of this planet and of all who witness this challenge. You have won. Gasps of surprise echoed throughout the arena. The alien contestants were stunned. Many had assumed the human would be unable to succeed, but here he stood, victorious, with his courage, intelligence, and compassion shining brighter than anyone's skill or power. Some competitors bowed respectfully, acknowledging his achievement, while others looked on in disbelief. The queen's reaction was even more surprising. She had expected admiration, perhaps, but she also expressed a profound respect and warmth that few had ever seen from her. Arin felt a mixture of relief, pride, and humility. He had faced fears, doubts, and impossible challenges. Yet he had stayed true to his values. He realized that victory was not simply about beating others. It was about proving one's character, heart, and mind. The queen stepped down from her throne and approached him, extending her hand in a gesture that symbolized both honor and recognition. The crowd erupted in quiet awe, and for the first time, many aliens truly saw humans not as weak or primitive, but as capable, wise, and worthy. The victory had been declared, but the aftermath was just beginning. The alien society that had once doubted Arin now looked at him with new eyes. News of his triumph spread quickly, and whispers of admiration filled the halls and streets of the planet. The alien contestants, who had once mocked him, now spoke of his courage, intelligence, and compassion. Some sought advice, eager to learn the ways he had approached challenges differently. The human from Earth had changed the perception of an entire world, showing that even beings from the smallest or simplest places could possess great strength of character. The alien queen herself approached Arin in a private chamber after the ceremony. Her demeanor was calm but intense, and her eyes reflected both curiosity and respect. You have done more than win a challenge, she said softly. You have shown this planet and its people a new way to think, act, and understand one another. Tell me, human, what will you do now that you have achieved this honor? Arin smiled, humbled by her words. I hope to learn more, he said. I want to understand this world, its people, and its ways, and maybe share what I know from Earth as well. There is so much to see, so much to understand, and I want to continue learning and helping wherever I can. The queen nodded, pleased, with his answer. She had expected arrogance, pride, or ambition, but instead she found humility and curiosity. She decided to form a bond with Arin, not just as the winner of the challenge, but as a representative of both worlds. This symbolic union was not about marriage in the way humans understood it. It was about respect, trust, and connection between two different civilizations. It was a gesture that would forever link Earth and this alien planet in friendship and understanding. Over the following days, Aaron explored the planet more freely. He was invited to gatherings, discussions, and lessons that were normally reserved for the most honored citizens. He shared his experiences from Earth, and in turn, learned the history, knowledge, and culture of the alien society. Friendships blossomed, and even the competitors who had doubted him grew to respect and admire him. He became a symbol of hope and inspiration, not just for humans, but for anyone who believed that courage, empathy, and intelligence could overcome prejudice and doubt. When the time came for Aaron to decide whether to return to Earth or stay, he felt a mixture of longing and purpose. Earth was his home, but he now had a connection to a world far beyond what he had ever imagined. In the end, he chose to remain temporarily, learning and sharing knowledge, building bridges between civilizations, and continuing to show that even the smallest actions of kindness and courage could have profound effects. The alien queen's reaction remained unforgettable to all who witnessed it. She had expected challenges and perhaps even defeat, but she was met instead with a human who defied expectations, taught lessons, and proved that heart and mind together were the truest form of power. Her reaction, a mixture of admiration, respect, and warmth, shocked many who had never seen her show emotion so openly. It became a story told for generations, the human who won the alien queen's challenge and changed a world by the simple acts of courage, empathy, and intelligence. As Aaron looked at the stars from the planet's surface, he reflected on everything he had experienced. He realized that bravery was not about being the strongest. Intelligence was not only in solving problems, and true worth was not in winning alone. It was about understanding, caring, and acting with integrity. And in that moment, he felt a quiet peace, knowing that his journey had not only changed him, but had left a lasting mark on an entire civilization, inspiring others to see the value of every being, no matter how small or different.